first, because everyone's so excited. Oh, we're up over 100 people. So why don't we let them get in the room here. I want to thank everyone. Welcome to my DC apartment. I'm so excited to be on here with John and with the Reverend. I think you guys know how high the stakes are. I thought I would just let you know a little bit about what's going on right now in Washington. I've been here for a month straight. See what you guys have to look forward to. Battling to try to get this pandemic package done before the end of the year, because I don't think we should be going home for the holidays till we do that. I think you know what's happening with the spike in cases, how close we are with the light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccine. The first shipment just went out to Minnesota. One of my roommate from college, her husband is an infectious disease doctor. And she said she just started to sob when she saw those trucks on TV leaving Michigan with the vaccine. So it's really an emotional day because of that. And I am very hopeful about these vaccines. There's not just one of them, but it's on us to get them distributed. And it's going to be on our great next new president, Joe Biden, and my friend Kamala, the vice president, to make sure that these get where they need to go. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we are working to really give the bridge to what I call the day after tomorrow and get this pandemic package done. So I was just on a leadership call with Senator Schumer and Durbin and with Mark Warner, who's been right in the middle of the negotiations. And so we have an initial agreement between some senators, and they acknowledge that we want to do more, and we only have a few days here. So we're still working out the details on the local and state aid. We're still working out the details on the Republicans' focus on liability, and we are still in concerns about that, and we are still working out the details on individual checks. So that's going on, but the good news is there's some really strong agreements on other pieces of the bill, including one near and dear to my heart, Save Our Stages, that has gotten to be a major thing. That is my bill that is included in there as well. The other news, of course, is the Electoral College, and that Joe Biden, could we all have a virtual yay, is the next president of the United States with the Electoral College voting today. That is complete. He has the votes that he needs by a big margin. And from there, it's now going to go, of course, these frivolous lawsuits are still being filed. No one knows that better than our two friends from Georgia. But we also will have on January 6th, the day after their election, we're going to have to receive these electoral college votes, and there could be some shenanigans. And I'm actually the Democratic lead on that in the Senate. And so that will be an all-day affair where objections can be made by House members. But never fear, we're going to win those. And then we go on to the inauguration. And it's not going to be the inauguration I want unless these two guys win and we win in Georgia. I think you all know the excitement of what's happening in Georgia. Joe Biden won Georgia against all predictions. And a lot of that was the work of these two candidates and so many others, Stacey Abrams, who you're all familiar with, Helen Butler, someone I got to know, Nsé Ufot, many others who have registered voters over the last few years as we see a changing Georgia and people who really want to move the state forward. Not only did Joe Biden win in Georgia, and I'm giving you these facts so that you know and you can tell your friends about a lot of the changes that we're seeing. Lucy McBath easily won a second term representing Georgia's 6th district. Right next door, Carolyn Bordeaux ousted a longtime Republican incumbent in the 7th congressional district. And basically all over the state, we saw this kind of change, which puts us in such a great position for this runoff. And one of the things, I was just talking to John and the Reverend before you guys all got on this call, and they've registered so many, I think, well, I'll let them give you the number, but over 70,000 new voters. Are you ready for this? Just in that time period that we had, which has just recently ended, in that month time period from the election on to the beginning of December. Now they're in the early vote stage, which many of you are familiar with in your own states, and they're turning the votes out. And as you've seen, the polls are going well. They're very close, but it's literally, as they say, too close to call. But we don't believe all polls, so we are going to work till the very end. And I don't think I need to go in. This is a very astute group to tell all of you guys what a difference this will make to the Senate, to getting things done, to helping Joe Biden get through this pandemic and get out the other side. I love Georgia. I spoke at the Democratic dinner a few years back there and saw this changing Georgia and the excitement in the Democratic Party firsthand. For those on the call from Minnesota, there's a little bit in common. We have a big metropolitan area in our state, like they have in Atlanta, but we also have major suburbs, and then we also have, of course, major rural areas as well. And there's an interesting mix of big companies and small in Atlanta that's a bit similar to Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's just a little warmer there. I personally loved going to Georgia on the presidential campaign. I loved the debate in the Tyler Perry studio. And I loved the next day with the Reverend members going with Stacy over there and seeing firsthand the early registration work that was being done and making sure people weren't kicked off the rolls, which was so injurious in her race for governor. And if the rules had been fair back then, she would be governor right now. But instead, she chose, along with so many others that I mentioned, to help these two fantastic candidates. So let me just tell you about them, and then I'm going to turn it over to them. I can't say enough about the Rev. He is the 11th of 12 children. My husband's third of 6. He's like a piker, like doesn't even count. 11 of 12 children raised in a Savannah housing project, who worked his way to Morehouse and one day became the youngest to ever preside over Martin Luther King Jr.'s pulpit. In the years since, he's earned a reputation as a moral and spiritual beacon, a community leader, and a steward of one of our country's most storied institutions, Ebenezer Baptist Church. He served as chair of the New Georgia Project, organized for Medicaid expansion, so important in our country, and spent his entire life fighting for justice. And then there's John. John has learned the ins and outs of national security policy as the right-hand man to Georgia's own Hank Johnson. Not long after that, he took the helm of a decades-old investigative firm where his documentaries exposed corrupt officials, sound familiar? War criminals and human trafficking syndicates. And at the ripe old age of 29, the Reverend and I can say this, John helped shift Georgia's 6th district 21 points to the left, 21 points toward Democrats. That campaign laid the groundwork for the success that we are seeing today. It built organizing infrastructure, it energized the suburbs, something I know a little bit about, and it signals to the rest of the country that Georgia is not just in play. Georgia is a place we can win. So who says young people can't make a difference? This election was a lot about the next generation. So I want to thank both of them for being on. And I think we're going to start with John, and then I'll say a few closing remarks at the end. But I'm just so honored. Every day people going, what's happening in Georgia? I can't imagine really the burden on your shoulders for the country. That's not easy. But I can see from just looking at you on the Zoom screen, you're more than up to it after a long day of Zoom calls. And you are more than meeting that burden and actually taking the torch to the finish line. John.
Senator, thank you so much. And thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your time. Thank you for bringing this group together. Thank you for your friendship and the moral support and advice that you've provided along the way. And of course, your service to your state and to the country. It's been deeply felt and appreciated here in Georgia. So please know that you are respected and admired and appreciated here in the Peach State. And thanks for helping invest in victory here. It's an honor to be with all of you. What's happening in Georgia right now is special, and it's such a clarification of how far the South has come and how far our state has come. You got the young Jewish journalist, son of an immigrant, mentored by John Lewis, running alongside the senior pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church, Reverend Raphael Warnock, a moral leader for our state who holds the same pulpit Dr. King did, who pastored John Lewis. This is the New South rising. I mean, if you had told folks 15 years ago that Georgia would be the most competitive battleground state in the country, and that you'd have 2 US Senate runoffs here in the same year for Senate control with these 2 candidates as standard bearers, folks would not have believed it. But it just shows how far the state has come. Even just in the last 10 years, so much of the work that you, Senator, were highlighting. As the states become younger and more diverse, all of the investment in voter registration, mobilization, volunteer training, organizing, these huge battles that we've hosted here, we've made progress and built infrastructure over time, and we're now in position to win these 2 US Senate races. And this is really all about electrifying, record-shattering turnout. This is, just to be frank with everybody, a lot less about persuading a vanishingly small slice of folks still weighing their options, and a lot more about inspiring people to get back out, build on the history we just made in Georgia, and ensure that this incoming administration has the capacity to govern and to enact legislation. And Senator, thank you for the work that you're doing on this COVID relief effort. You know better than either of us what it will be like in the US Senate if Mitch McConnell maintains power. The level of obstruction and paralysis, the constant threat of government shutdowns will impair this administration's ability not just to respond to this short-term crisis, but also to enact a broader legislative agenda in the public interest, in the national interest, in the interests of working families in Georgia and across the country. And here in Georgia, look, this is about health, jobs, and justice for the people. We got to beat this pandemic. We have to urgently address our state's healthcare crisis. 9 rural hospitals have closed in 10 years. 2 million Georgians lack health insurance. Half our counties have no OBGYN doctor. Maternal mortality for Georgia women is as high as it is for women in Uzbekistan. We can do so much better, and it's going to take legislative action to deliver the resources and policies we need to get everybody covered with great insurance and ensure access to healthcare for everybody here. This is about jobs, getting direct economic relief to people, and investing in infrastructure, clean energy, rural electrification, upgrading our public schools, building new hospitals and clinics, creating tens of thousands of jobs along the way. And this is about justice. This is about passing a new Civil Rights Act and a new Voting Rights Act, advancing criminal justice reform to secure true equal justice for all people in this country, regardless of race and regardless of class. And the coalition that we're building in Georgia is historic. It's deep, it's broad. The Reverend and I are both traveling throughout the state. We are in small towns. We are in rural communities. We are in the cities. And we're getting out voters everywhere. We're getting badly outspent on the air, as we expected, but we are out hustling on the ground. And as the senator mentioned, tens and tens of thousands of new voters registered just since November 3rd. So please know that y'all's investment in victory in Georgia is powering this historic turnout effort. Deeply grateful for all of the help, and truly an honor to be running alongside Reverend Warnock. We had a great rally in Atlanta today. It's a great team. And Rev, over to you.
Thanks, John. And I want people to know before we get to the Reverend, just that, remember, these are additional voters, some of them people who turned 18, additional voters to the voters that gave the victory to Joe Biden in this last November. So just in that time, that many new voters. So I'm just giving you guys hope, because you guys, a bunch of them are, and you both should know this, they're giving a lot of money here. We've raised well over $100,000, I think, on a Zoom event, pretty good, and more. And so I want to thank all of you for that. And let's turn it over to the Reverend. Thanks.
Well, thank you so very much. I'm deeply honored to be here with you tonight. And I'm enjoying running alongside John Ossoff, whom I've come to call my brother from another mother. This is an exciting moment in Georgia. Who would have predicted that when the dust cleared, on November 3rd that there would be 2 runoffs, both would be in Georgia, and they would be to decide the balance of the Senate. It is a result of work we've been doing for years here in the state. When Stacey Abrams started the New Georgia Project several years ago, she came to see me and asked if I would help. I said, certainly. She knew I was always up for a good fight, good trouble, as John Lewis calls it. And sure enough, when the word got out that we were busy registering people that other folk were ignoring, that we intended to register voters of color and women in this state, the then Secretary of State, a man named Brian Kemp, accused us of voter fraud. It was his accusation that was fraudulent. And you may have noticed that they're up to some of the same old tricks in recent weeks and recent days. But we won't be deterred by that. People who have confidence in their message with the voters don't engage in voter suppression. The reason why they're engaged in voter suppression, and we're seeing it taken to a new level with this assault, all-out assault on our democracy in this moment, is they don't like the outcome. They know that the momentum is with us, the wind is at our back. And so I think it's our job to stay focused. And so I'm not concerned. Someone I think asked in the chat about what Kelly Loeffler had to say about me the other day in the debate.
I love that you noticed the chat room. I was looking at it too.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. We've got some major problems in this country that we've got to deal with. A once in a century global pandemic that's created an economic turn down, and Senator, you and others are trying to help us find our way through this and provide relief to the American people. And I was in a conversation the other day with schoolyard kind of insults hurled at me over and over again, the same ones. I guess she's cut from the same cloth of the person she's trying to defend, that she thinks is her job to represent him, and he's on his way out, certainly doesn't live in Georgia. I understand why she's trying to change the subject, because she's got a lot of explaining to do. She's been there 10 months, and she's done a good job of enriching herself, but has not done much at all to take care of the people of Georgia. She was appointed. The people of Georgia are disappointed, and they're showing up in record numbers. I had the honor today of voting. I went for in-person early voting today, accompanied by the iconic and legendary Andrew Young.
Oh.
And what a great honor to be there with him, to cast my vote, standing alongside this man who, like John Lewis, is the reason why John and I are able to do what we're able to do in this moment. And so, and the other thing that was special today is that a kid who grew up in public housing got a chance to vote for himself to be one of the 2 United States senators from the state of Georgia. And my mother, who's 82 years old and grew up in Waycross, Georgia in the 1950s, picking somebody else's tobacco and somebody else's cotton, gets the chance during this early voting period to help pick her son to be the next United States senator. Only in America is that story possible. It is a testament to the ways in which the American dream is very much alive. It's just slipping away from too many people, which is why I decided to run in the first place. I've got a pretty good job now, and certainly not bored with being a pastor. Mm-hmm. But I'm running to translate my years of work as an activist, my agitation into legislation, my protests into public policy. Georgia is well positioned. We're glad that Georgia's on a lot of people's minds, and we're going to stay focused as we push hard in this. We're in the stretch now, and we're determined to leave it all on the field and win the future for all of our children.
Very good. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I wanted to mention, I wish you guys could see all our friends that are on the call. And well, you see them, but I wish you could meet them. And I was just looking through some of them. Wendy and, oh, look at this. Vance Opperman's on, thank you. Tim, the Lynches, it's just incredible. I'm just looking, I want everyone to know I see every single name on here, even though we can't be together. I want to thank you for this. Oh, and Nancy cares a lot about the whales. So when you guys come to the Senate, I'm going to talk to you about whales. Maybe not the big thing in the Georgia election right now. My sister's on. Max Richmond, who's done so much great work on saving Social Security, is on the call. Thank you. I'm just randomly saying Lee Strickler, Lisa Schatz, thank you. I'm seeing everyone here. So just Karen down there in Florida, where you probably are, Karen Cornelius, just so many good friends that are on. Adam Emmerich, he's a friend from law school. By the way, his brother is a famous actor who was in The Americans, played the FBI agent. Craig, Colette Holt, thank you. Anyway, it's just an incredible group that we've gathered here. And I know they all want to see you in person, and will soon. But we all want to be safe, and we want you to be safe because we want you to win. And I am just so in awe of both of you. I've worked across the aisle, you probably know pretty well, with Republicans, but your two senators aren't in that group that works across the aisle, right? They just aren't, and works to try to get things done and do the right thing all the time and try to put their country first. And that's why, just for the sake of our country, to have the two of you, I think it was Joe who said when he was declared the winner, well, he's been declared the winner 9 times now, but when he was declared the winner of the presidential, he said, this isn't a partisan moment, this is an American moment. And you two are our American moment. And to go to work in that Senate every day and know all the great things we can do, and to think we're stymied because of this partisanship is really a gut punch. It's not just for us, but for everyone who lives in this country. And so, not to put more on your shoulders, but could you just make our jobs better, please? And win this election. One of the things I loved about Biden's victory, and would be the same if you two win, is I told people they don't have to stay up all night now trying to figure out by themselves how to govern the country, that they've got people that have their backs. And Joe and Kamala certainly are those people, but you are too. So let us know what else we can do to help. We know the funding's so important as you're getting outdone on the airwaves a bit, but I don't want to at all detract from the fact that you have got huge ground games, huge amount of ads up there yourselves. I've seen the ads, are really, really good. People should look them up on the internet. And you've also both done really well in the debates. I kind of like debates, if you've heard. And do you have more debates coming up, the two of you, or are there?
Well, I challenged Loeffler to 3 debates. And I need to check in with my team. I don't know. I don't know that there'll be other debates. We'll see.
Yeah.
Senator, if you see David, try to put a little steel in his spine. He seems to be just flagging a little bit on self-confidence. Yeah, I think he just needs maybe a pep talk. If you can tell him he can do it, he can do it. He's a United States senator. He can debate. I believe in him.
But I did notice, didn't one of you had like a blank podium across from you?
Yeah, David no-showed, so I debated an empty lectern.
Okay, well, the people are going to notice that. I mean, the issues couldn't be more important right now for people in their lives and everything. Moms balancing their toddlers on the knees while they're trying to work on a laptop, and first graders having to learn the mute button to do their schoolwork. I mean, it's really affecting people in their everyday lives. Senators having to use the mute button, which they're not always good at doing. And it's affecting everyone. And I think that's why this is such a visceral election for all of you. So I want to thank you for what you're doing for running, and we stand, all of us, ready to help in any way, including, I'm sure people can volunteer by making phone calls and the like. And so just go to both their websites and figure out what else you can do to help. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Next time I see you, it is going to be on the floor of the Senate. Okay.
Thanks so much, Senator. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye-bye.